Hi there. So this is Lou Martin, and I'm the host of a YouTube channel interviewing people about consciousness and creativity called Awakened Spirits Network. And in my online travels, I've met this lovely lady, Adel Houten, and she'll teach me how to pronounce her name correctly, I'm sure. And it's great to be here with her. She's a therapist and very broad-minded, very open-minded to different techniques, and very spiritually grounded. So all of those ring my little metaphysical bell. So Adel, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you for having me. It's been great to meet you. And you did pronounce my name correctly, Houten.
Thank you, Jesus.
Although it's actually a made-up name, Houten. I only found this out about 5 years ago. My granddad.
Okay.
Yeah, my granddad.
I love a good story. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he was Irish. He was drunk at the time and not very literate. And he went to register the birth. And we came back, instead of Houghton, Houten. So from that day on, we were Houtens.
That's a great story. That's a great story. Yes. Yeah. All the drunken Irish fathers of the world. Yeah, God bless them. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. Is he still around? I'm curious.
Sadly, no. He passed away when he was 54. He was a coal miner. So, getting close to that age myself, you kind of realize how young that was. Yeah.
Well, I'm 66 this year, my friend. So it's a one-way ticket. Enjoy the journey. My dad also passed when he was 55. So yeah, those things make you appreciate these extra innings that not everyone gets, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Adel, I would love to learn about your work. You have a great Facebook page and a lovely website and a lovely Instagram. And I'm looking for your... Yes, I help professional women who feel unfulfilled and frustrated to create a life of freedom, fun, and flow by healing their trauma and reclaiming their divinity and power. Kapow! Boy, that covers it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of study. I've been a therapist for 20 years, helping people primarily with trauma and all the things that come out of that, depression, anxiety, etc.
Right.
But I've always had a very inquisitive mind. I remember before I started doing the therapy, I was working in IT sales, and I got that job because I always wanted to know how computers worked. I was like, how do computers work? So I got a job selling computers and did a CompTIA Network Plus certification because I didn't know. I don't like not knowing something.
You're a very curious person. That's wonderful. Bless you.
Yeah. And I started really getting into the bigger questions like, well, why are we all here? What's the point of it all? What's my purpose? All these questions. How do some people walk around really happy where other people, are miserable? And so I started looking a lot into metaphysics, science of mind, universal principles, universal laws. And I did an awful lot of study on that. And the work that I do now is very much bringing the two elements together. So it's looking at those, how we create our lives, and then also dealing with the traumas that we have within us that are creating a certain reality that we don't want to experience. So it's kind of two-pronged approach.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I did 3 years at Michael Beckwith's church in LA, which was religious science. So I know the big book from Ernest Holmes. That's Science of Mind. That's some great stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I have it. It's 6 books in one. It's like that. Yeah, Michael Beckwith. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, I studied with Dr. Erin, New Thought Wisdom. I don't know if you know.
Okay. No. Is he English?
She.
I'm sorry.
She's American. Yeah.
I walked right into that, didn't I? Okay, good.
So she's American. So I did my spiritual practitioner training with her.
Brilliant.
Spiritual psychology coach training. I started my ministerial with her, actually.
Okay.
But I didn't finish it. It didn't quite resonate. So I did do half of the ministerial, not to be a minister, because we don't really have ministers in the UK. It was more to do the learning about different religions and such like that.
Yeah. Well, so are you praying every day? That's the secret question, isn't it?
I do scientific prayer. So I do affirmative prayer, every day.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. Groovy.
Not
okay.
Or something out there in the sky, praying myself, to be a version of myself, you want to see.
Yes, the I am presence within us, we would say.
Yeah,
absolutely. Groovy. Well, yeah, we're on the same. When two people can agree with what God is, that we're making great progress 10 minutes in here. This is good. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, all right. So you're talking about trauma. You're talking about healing trauma. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gabor Mate, who's done some great work about all of that. But I'd love to hear your take on trauma, because that is, as we know, that is, the pot that's on full boil in the world right now. And every day, the news stories and our lovely governments, they're just pushing people's buttons, and everyone's flipping out over and over. So let me hear what you have to say about healing trauma, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's look at first what trauma is. It's not something that happens to us. We're not at the mercy of, this thing has happened called trauma. It's something we experience and a decision in mind that we make. So we might experience something that is deemed a trauma. I don't know, maybe we have an accident or something like that, or somebody calls us a name in the playground. It could be something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be something really big. And in that moment, we have a heightened state of emotion, and we make a decision in mind about ourselves, about the world around us, or other people. So it might be, I am not worthy. People don't like me. The world is dangerous. And so that then outpictures in our lives as a limiting belief. And so what's great about that is it's not the thing that's happened to us, it's our decision, and we can change our decision. We can change our thoughts and thus change our reality. So we do have complete control over it, I believe. We're not these little merciless, I always use this analogy. People are like little corks quite often, bobbing on an ocean, feeling like they're at the mercy of the waves. Some days the waves are up here, and some days it's quite smooth. And what I try and get across to people is, it's not the cork, you're not the cork, you're the ocean, you're creating it all. And as soon as we realize that, we can create a reality without that trauma. There's no need for it. But you're right, the government does like a little bit of trauma, doesn't it?
It seems to get us to do what they want us to do. So
I believe there's a reason in that. It's all divine, it's all perfection, it's all supposed to be happening. My personal belief is that there's a lot of purging going on, and it's only when we can see what we don't want that we can start to move and choose what we do want. And so it's a necessary experience that people are having right now, because I know I don't want to, I don't want to watch about what's happening in Palestine and Hamas. I don't want to know about it. I don't understand it. And that doesn't mean to say that I advocate the suffering of people. I'm not on anybody's side. If I'm on anybody's side, it's the side of the innocent civilians, I don't know the politics and all that, but I see that as that's showing us where we don't want to go. It's pushing us to where we do.
Sure. No, I agree with all that. I mean, contrast, creates the opportunity to choose again. And, one of my teachers says it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it that defines, what it means. And really on the bigger scale, as you're saying there, we're asking for this, we're inviting this. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. Even though trauma, pain, fear, violence, whatever, it is the trauma is our response to it, and then not being able to get our power back from our fearful response to some overwhelming situation. But yeah, I'm sure it's brought your numbers up. Do you know that people realize that they really do need support and assistance, and some guidance in terms of taking their power back, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the original definition of sin, isn't it? Giving your power away. And I think a lot of people are realizing that they have been giving their power away to governments, to pharmaceutical industries, with their food, with everything. I realized that some years ago, and it's just recently, yeah, a lot of plant medicine.
Oh, good. Well, I'd love to hear about that, Adele. Honestly,
Yeah.
we can go anywhere. Well, so you did some ayahuasca, or what do you?
Yeah, I've done that very many times, probably over 50 times. I've been to the jungle. Wow. Yeah, I've been out there.
You're my hero. Bless you.
Have you done it yourself? Have you?
I've not. My thing was, and we'll come back to you, but my thing was, I was high every day of my 20s, so I've been sober for 35 years, and I did a bit of acid in my 20s as well. So that was, educational, all of that. But I hear great things about ayahuasca, so that's the one thing that I've kept the door open about.
I think again, it's that inquisitive mind. I think you do it for one of two reasons, but the two reasons are probably very intrinsic. You don't get one without the other. I think you do it to either heal or to learn. And I very much do it to learn. I want to know more. Teach me more.
Sure. Sure.
And so, but in that learning, we heal as well, but my primary goal is to learn. Yeah,
50, 50, hold, sorry, one second. I gotta, take this in for a minute. I hear people talk about a dozen trips or 5 or 6 trips. So 50 is really a heroic commitment, bless you, to heal your own stuff, to look at your own shadow, to make peace with your life. I'm sure, having done that many, that's the most I've ever heard, honestly, having done that many ayahuasca trips. You've probably been writing a lot about all that as well, I would imagine.
No, I'm not really a writer. No.
Okay.
Yeah, putting pen to paper, or it's not me. I like talking.
Okay.
It's not something. I do talk about it. Yeah, I remember being in a ceremony, years ago, probably about 6 years ago, and I saw this lady come in, and she said she'd done it like 50 times. I was like, what, really? But yeah, it's obviously I didn't do it back to back. That would be difficult.
Sure.
But it's been over years, different ceremonies. I spent a few weeks in the Amazon, with the Shipipo people, doing it very traditionally over there.
Wow.
I've done it all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had some pretty wild experiences on it. I think the most profound would have been when I actually experienced what reality was. The veil literally crumbled, and I knew we were all one. We were all connected. I knew this, but I actually experienced it, and it's totally different. It was almost too much that it showed me. My brain was a little bit fragmented. I can see how some people who are delicate might go into psychosis, because it was like, it showed me quite a lot. And the thing that I took from it in terms of what reality is, none of it is real. First of all, none of this is real. And it is so insignificant. I took it as this world that we live in, we're all it's like a film. This world that we live in is like a film. And the real us are not who we identify with in the characters in this film. The real us is the observer watching the film. So in a film, if somebody dies, if somebody gets raped, if somebody gets knocked out, it doesn't matter. It's just a film, it ends, and then another film. And so that's kind of what I took from it. I became the observer, and I realized how insignificant. And on the plane on my way home, I'm like, who cares who won the football? It doesn't matter. None of this is real. I can take my clothes off and run down this aisle if I want to. None of it's real anyway. Thankfully, I didn't, though. But yeah, none of it's real.
Yes. Well, my friend, it is just a joy to connect with you on these deep levels here, because this is, to me, this is what it's all about. I mean, my dad was murdered when I was 18, and that's why I crawled into a big bag of weed for the next 10 years. And then when I turned 30, I had a Kundalini awakening in meditation, and I was in an altered state for 7 days. And then I started not only studying with Michael Beckwith, but studying with the spirit guides, Lazarus and Dr. Peebles and a few others, and learn about channeling and things like that. So, we're not 100 miles apart here. It's been quite a journey to get to this point. And, again, as we were saying before we started, Spirit probably has some bigger agenda that neither of us are aware of as we're sitting down to talk about these things. So, that's where I hang out, is the deep end of the pool, and that's where you've been living as well. So it's great to hear all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's lots of things that have happened in my life that have kind of taken me out of the matrix, taken me to look at different things that aren't deemed conventional. And I do talk about these things. I have, as well as doing that, I have another business where I take mental health into the workplace. A business called Health Perks, and I do a lot of mental health training, one-to-one referrals for employees who are struggling with their mental health and stuff like that. And I'm in these businesses and I'm talking about consciousness, I'm talking about ayahuasca, I'm talking about reality. And it's kind of, I see myself almost like a bridge, bringing woo-woo to the boardroom. I always call it,
I love it. Yes.
I've done like sound baths in boardrooms,
Okay.
and bringing people into it's always about waking people to the divinity that they have within them, the power that they have within them, taking their power back.
Yes.
And so I'm not afraid of talking about these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, yes. I mean, this is what, it's wonderful. This is what we need, are people like yourself who, will be listened to, and, people will step outside of the little box that everyone has to live in, to survive and get by and be accepted and all that. And woo-woo in the boardroom, I'm all for it. It sounds very, very liberating. I'm sure people are taking to it like a duck to water.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people who are very closed off. I always call it the pistachio nut syndrome. You get some people, who, if you had a bowl of pistachios and there were the closed ones, you wouldn't bother with them. Yeah, you're hungry. You don't want to mess time. So there'll be some that are already open and you eat those, but it's the ones that are like that, you just try them open, and the ones in the middle. And that's really what I like to do. You've got the ones who are into this already, but it's the ones in the middle who go, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know we can inherit trauma through our genes. I didn't know this. I did, and it's really profound when you see those light bulb moments. I love it.
Yes, darling, I have to pause for 1 second. Can you give me 1 second here? Okay, we're back. Adele, let me get the good news that I got my 3-year visa. I'll just throw that in there. So that was my stop. Thank you. I'm saying Adele's brought me a lot of grace already here. So carry on, my friend. Where were we? I hope I haven't distracted you at all.
We just want to go celebrate, right?
I'm ready to take a deep breath and count my blessings. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's really good. But you created that. You've done that. It's amazing. Clearly, you're meant to be here.
I do love Ireland, and I just got one of these for the first time in 3 years as well. So I can drop over to England at some point and maybe shake your hand. So yes, it's a great thing to be. The last couple months, I'll just take a second here, have been the passport, visa, Social Security, one thing after another. So it's great that I'm still in the groove with everything. Thank you.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, dear. Thank you very much.
So what were we talking about? I think we were talking about woo-woo in the boardroom and talking about ayahuasca and I mean,
well, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Can we step back? Because here you are, you're firing on all engines, my friend. Bless you. How did you get to this point in your own journey? That's usually what people need to hear at some point.
Okay. Yeah. So, so before I got into personal development, like I say, I was working in IT sales, and I was like working all the hours God sends. I was married at the time. My husband, unbeknown to me, was an addicted gambler, a cheat, and he didn't work. He said he was depressed, and so I was kind of supporting everything, and it got to the point where I basically in 1 year lost everything. So I call it my annus horribilis. And
yes, good one.
Yeah, if it's good enough for the Queen to call it an annus horribilis, it's good enough.
Yes, so, I remember that, Diana and the Queen.
Yeah. And so I lost my home. I lost my rental property, everything I'd worked for. I ended up in £60,000 of credit card debt, having never, ever spent a penny on a credit card. I had thousands stolen out of my bank account. I got ripped off on a car. I put money down on a car that never transpired, and it took me over a year to get the money back. My son got expelled from school at that time. All these things happened in 1 year. And I kicked him out because eventually I realized, in spite of all the money and stuff like that, he was cheating as well. So kicked him to the curb. So that was all in 1 year. So I basically lost everything. And I remember one day having like bailiffs at the door because I refused to pay a penny of that back. It wasn't my debt. I'd already lost everything. I thought, you can do one. I'm not paying any of it. Not my debt. And I had bailiffs at the door and stuff. And I remember being sat in a coffee shop with a mate, and I was just a mess. I was like, you're just stressed out to the max. And then I just had this thought, so what? They can't like kill me. It's not going to kill me. They can't take what I haven't got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I take solace from that from time to time. Yeah.
So I just thought, F it, and in that moment, I just completely, everything just lifted. It was like, didn't have any problems. So you can't say why I haven't got. And so that was kind of that, having lost everything. Now going to the hypnotherapy, I remember distinctly one day being in the office, and I said to myself, so what? I sold a server. I haven't helped anybody. And at that precise moment, an email came on my screen about a hypnotherapy course in London. And something just drew me to it. So I went to this course, and I loved it. And that was my start on my journey into personal development. And so I had my private practice, and I still have my private practice. And I started to get asked to go into businesses. So I'd see people and they'd say, oh, I've got some staff. Would you come in and do something for the staff? So eventually I started getting really busy going into businesses, doing things like resilience, mindfulness, lots of different mental health courses and stuff. So I thought to myself, well, who's going to look after my clients? So I set up an academy, Mind Masters Academy, to train people in advanced clinical hypnosis and EFT. So I still train people, and I still do health perks, going into businesses, doing mental health training, resilience, sound baths, health checks, and one-to-one therapy. And what I do is I combine the two. So I'll get referrals from companies and I will pass them through to people that I've trained and such. So it all works really well.
I'm blown away. That's incredible. You are like a one-woman healing, university over there,
Well,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I think recently I've just moved to a retreat house. So I have a retreat house in the Northwest. So from here I do my training from here. and I do retreats, and I do sound healing and things like that. So I have a little room, well, it's a bigger room, set up, which is my room. And then we do like residential retreats and stuff like that as well.
Great. Well, I will happily promote your work over here.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Thrilled to know you. This is, you're ticking all the boxes. I'm like, here she is, folks,
Thank
Fantastic.
you. Well, hopefully I'm not going to be here much longer. The bigger plan is to read this off and go and live in Bali. That's the bigger plan. So this is why,
Okay.
yeah, I've never been to Bali, but I just know that's where I want to go and live. So this is why I'm trying to move things online. So I'm doing more of the online trade.
You've had enough English winners for one lifetime.
Very much so. Yeah, I need to be a hot sea. I need to be back.
Yeah. Beautiful. I hear it's heaven on earth. A friend of mine just arrived there to promote her new book. Fantastic.
Yeah, I believe it's beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Well, where would you like to go now? I mean, I'm all ears. Pick a topic and fill us with your wisdom.
Oh gosh. Well, what can I tell you? Well,
go on.
A lot of the work that I do now is about trauma, and a lot of people are not aware that we can actually inherit trauma through our genes. As a hypnotherapist, obviously, I've done and I teach past life regression, and obviously, like yourself, I have that knowing. It's not even a belief; it's a knowing that there is no death. Everything, it just continues. And so when we do past life regressions, whether it is a past life or whether it's the genetic memory that we have within ourselves, the DNA, really doesn't matter. But I know from experience that in this moment, we have a great responsibility to heal the trauma of our lineage. I think there's a lot of inversion. I think, the whole world's inverted, but we have this idea that our parents are supposed to look after us. Our parents are supposed to be the ones that, they're responsible for us. Well, it's not. I always say we're almost like Russian dolls. And within us are our parents, our grandparents, and the lineage throughout ourselves are within us. And the responsibility lands on us to heal them. It lands on us, so every time, I always think, well, gosh, you think you're just done with your own stuff. Then you got your granny's stuff to deal with, and your great grannies and stuff. So there's a lot of healing. And nobody, I think, is ever a finished article. If they were, we wouldn't be able to see them or talk to them in this 3D, 4D reality.
You're speaking deep wisdom, my friend. My motto is when we're done here, we're gone. And meanwhile, everything is learning and loving and healing between now and then. But yeah, I think we're living, in this moment. You're describing, gosh, a half dozen to a dozen different, specialties and skills and focuses that you have under your belt, and the 50 ayahuasca journeys. You're speaking from deep experience. And moving a lot of mountains on your journey, which is really inspiring, Adel. You're truly the most inspiring human I've met for quite a while, and I thank you for that. Absolutely, hon. I'm thrilled to tell you, and I'm sure you're going to be holding retreats in Bali as well, and we'll all come running out there for your wisdom and love when you're in that new spot. But yeah, it's a revolution right now. Is I guess it's revolutionary times for healers and healing and spiritual awakening, and the sky is the limit. And these essentials that we're discussing here, that God is within us and is available to help us and to guide us. When we own that and practice that, and that the world we've been living in really is this the subjective projection, simulation, computer program, take your pick, and that we're, we seem to be preparing for a new program, is the way I see it. So yeah, it's just, boy, you're really lit up. You're on fire with all this. It's a pleasure to know you.
I believe the same. I believe, I don't know what your thoughts are, Lou, but I believe that there's a split in timelines right now. I buy into this multi-universe, every possibility, probability is happening right now in this moment. And so there is a choice right now in which way we go. And when we had all that COVID stuff, I was very militant, like trying to wake people up, wake up, see what they're doing, about jabs and stuff like that. Yeah. Trying to price people open, those nuts. But I gave myself a deadline in, I think it was October or something of one year. I can't even remember when it was. And I thought, right, if they haven't got it now, they're never going to get it. It's not their destiny. It's not their path, And I realized that what I was doing is I was energizing that which I didn't want. And so I stopped doing that. And now my focus is very much on where is it we want to go? Let's focus on where we want to go.
Yeah.
And so I believe that had I continued that way, I'd have gone down the path that I didn't, want. I'd have been on the reality dimension, timeline, whatever you want to call it, where I didn't want to be. So my aim and my mission now is to be on that correct timeline and bring as many people with me as possible. And I do feel that is my purpose. That's my destiny.
Yes. Brilliant. Well, Hun, I'm gonna ask you the question I'm feeling intuitively guided by spirit to ask you, which is, can you talk a bit about your childhood and your teenage years? And were you like everyone else, or did you know, no, I'm not like everyone else?
No, I very much wasn't like everybody else. I mean, as a child, I've got a field of sheep outside. They're not my sheep, but there's one black one, and I always resonate with that black sheep.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, troublemaker, absolutely.
Yeah. So as a child, I'm one of 10, first of all.
The phone. Oh God, give me strength. From one mom?
My mom was busy. Woman? Yeah, my mom was busy.
Many things. Busy is certainly one of them. God love her. Yeah. Is this Irish Catholic or what?
Yes. Yeah. Well, my mom actually lives in Ireland now. I mean, she's had 10 children, but they were quite spread out. So there weren't like 10 of us in the house all at once. So, but growing up, my
where were you in the scale?
Number 2. So there was an older sister, then there was me, and then there was a younger sister for quite some time. So I was kind of like the middle one. Then there was a younger brother, and then the rest.
Right. The whole football team.
Yeah, absolutely. So our family wasn't like a very small family. It was just kind of go out and play, that sort of thing. But growing up, I was always very different. I still am, I still am totally different. None of my family do all the stuff that I do. Or probably interested in it, to be fair. Certainly not interested in what I do.
I know the feeling, sadly, yes.
Yeah. So so growing up, my dad was very strict. Children should be seen and not heard. You get a crack and all that. But I was very, very, when I was younger, I had a photographic memory. So I was very, very intelligent in terms of what the school system, I just could remember things. But I was quite gifted in art and trumpet. I remember playing the trumpet, sight reading, and my mind would be away, but I'd just be playing it. It was quite bizarre. Channeling, probably what you would call.
Right, sure.
But yeah, so but I was always kind of a bit of a rebel as well. Anyway, my mum moved over when my dad and my mum split up. My mum had a child who passed away, 3 months old, caught death. And I think she went kind of off the rails then. She moved probably when I was about 12, I think, over to Ireland and left us with my dad. So, it wasn't...
For some reason, she thought 10 kids might be enough,
She only had, she had 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th one was the one that passed away. And she very quickly had another one after that. So it was around about that time. And so we were left with my dad, and I didn't get on very well with him. I didn't like the rules, which my dad was so tight. We had a payphone in the house, and it was cheaper to go to the box, you know.
That's a good story right there. That's a great story right there.
There's times when I paid for my own school uniform. You know, it was just so tight.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So I got kicked out anyway when I was 17.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I met my son's dad. Now, my son's dad, he was very violent, very abusive, physically, emotionally, and he used to be. He'd be like, "If you leave me, I'll shoot your gran." So he was a bit of a gangster. Anyway, I did leave him, and he hit my dad over the head with a baseball bat, and my dad never looked since. So there was a lot of trauma there around that, and I was very much on my own, you know, getting threatened by gangs, and it was just a horrendous experience. And so got through that. I was with my son, single parent. I was working all weekend in a nightclub, in a bar, and I was at university all during the week, and it was just too much. So I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I decided I wanted a job with a car. So I gave it up, and I got a job as a sales rep with a car. And then I went from there into IT sales. But yeah, growing up, it was, we weren't like a family that was, even though we were a large family, we weren't like close. I always remember, like, we'd go to my nana's, who's the Irish, and she's beautiful, she's dead loving, and we'd be all sat there, and it wasn't natural for kids just to sit still, but we were all just terrified to move.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So I see where that kind of that limiting belief that children should be seen and not heard. You know, you get a crack if you. Because when I was in the workplace, I always remember, like, if I saw a boss who was male, I'd regress to this little girl who was like trying to hide, you know, I can't be seen. So I've experienced, you know, that how limited you can now picture in your life. Yeah.
Well, this is one thing I do. If you ever want, you know, what I do, I tend to work with a lot of women around father issues, you know, with my guides and all of that. So, you know, I mean, you've come a huge long way, and, you know, again, you're my hero for surviving all that, let alone all the success and all the healing and all the inspiration you've brought to me and so many others. You know, what a powerful soul you really are, my friend. I mean, nothing stops you. That's incredible, your story.
Oh, thank you. And
you're so welcome.
I think the biggest thing for me is, you know, I have no, and I can genuinely say this, you know, I have no thoughts about, you know, the guy I was married to. I don't like, oh, he ripped me off. You know, I don't have any anger. It was a lesson that I needed to learn for whatever reason, you know.
Yeah.
And I always say it's like, going through all that crap, you're not going to hold on to the toilet paper you used, are you? You're going to throw that away as well, right?
Yes, good analogy. Yes.
Yeah, that's a little bit graphic. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, I mean, the thing is, let me just jump in, Adele. No, you're, you know, really, wow. The thing is, for me with women, it's can they express their anger, you know, and you know, when a woman is able to, you know, ideally dad backs you up, and the brothers in your life back you up, and the husband in your life backs you up. None of those things happened by what you're describing there in your story, which, you know, as we said, your soul said, sure, bring it on. You know, I'll take care of, you know, I'll go through all this crap, and I'll come out stronger the other side. But yeah, to me, it's like, and I, you know, there's no doubt you're well able to speak up for yourself and take care of yourself. But anger is really, you know, so much of how women really learn to deeply emotionally nurture themselves, you know, by valuing their feelings. You know,
we're taught that anger's a bad thing, though, aren't we? You can't be angry. You've got to keep it in. We're taught it's a bad thing.
Right. No, I know. And therein lies the tale. You know, I've had 30 years of conversations with women about healing. And the short version is, as you said, this is the rule book. Men are allowed to be angry but can't be sad and cry, and women are allowed to be sad and cry but can't be angry.
The funny thing is, yeah,
the healing is in that balance.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that if you chunk it down enough, it's the same. It's usually fear or sadness that is the underlying driver for both anger and the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're saying about accepting your emotional needs, as we all have to learn to do, and then speaking up or asserting or expressing, our boundaries or our vulnerability. For a guy to ask for help. I mean, I had this healing crisis this year with some cancer, and I was in the hospital for like 36 days in April and May, and then 2 weeks after that. So it fully got my attention. Like, Lou, you got a few things to learn here, And so I'm trying to say, it got me a lot more in touch with asking for help, being vulnerable, receiving, not being independent, not being the star of the show, just surviving and nurturing and healing, and being very grateful and humble about, the gift of life one more time on a whole deeper level. I think it's helped me a lot, in my own journey. And, men, we do need to learn how to be vulnerable and not pretend we know everything or we can control everything,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's that old thing, men don't talk. Right. I think the statistics now, one person every 90 minutes in the UK dies by suicide. Every 90 minutes, somebody takes their life. Yeah, and we know that there's a question that you can ask somebody. There's a massive crevice, okay, between somebody thinking, "Oh, I wish I was dead," and somebody actually planning their suicide. There's a huge crevice. The statistics: 20.6% of people feel at some point like suicidal thoughts, but they would never act upon it. Yeah. Sure. So if you have that thought about somebody thinking that, oh, there's something not right there, are they thinking about suicide? If you ask them, are you feeling suicidal? The statistics show that people are 80% less likely to act upon those suicidal thoughts. So just asking that question, being open. So people need to, on both sides, people need to be comfortable talking about their own feelings, but also other people need to be comfortable asking others about their feelings. Well, it's getting that mental health conversation on the table.
But no, that's a great point.
Men are talking about it.
No, I love what you're saying, Adele. I mean, this is being the black sheep, is being the one who sees what's going on, and has a deeper understanding of, the story behind everything, whereas everyone else is just, singing and dancing and trying to say everything's great and everything's normal and everything's fine and, all of that. And so, I mean, this is the wounded healer, journey that we all go on when you have this calling in your life, on your soul's purpose to help people face these things, as we're saying here. And again, I just love, the courage and the honesty, that you're bringing to this, just to be the one willing to bring things up and broach the subject and ask people to be very, very honest and very open and vulnerable. And I mean, I'd love your feedback on this. Like, most of my groups have been with women, and most groups that I attend are with women. And, my friends say, Lou, you should do a men's group. When are you going to do a men's group? And I'm like, I put it out there. I don't see it, but I honestly feel like we might finally be there after the last 3 years of the COVID catastrophe, and people really being more isolated than ever before. I think people might be more willing to heal at this point. Is that your sense about it as well?
100%. Yeah, definitely have a men's group. Men are more open now. We're going through a huge paradigm shift, and And you're part of that, you know, and you can really be a catalyst with that by having a men's group. I get a lot of men referred to me through the workplace, and a lot of them are like, because they've been referred, they'll be like, oh, I'm not used to talking. After talking for like 10 minutes, they're like, just, it becomes natural, and they never go back to a non-talker, you know.
Right.
So even just talking about their experience, you know, that affect labeling, it calms down your amygdala in the brain. It's therapy for them. We have a thing called Andy's Man Club over in the UK. I don't know if you have it in Ireland. No. And it's basically a load of guys who get together and talk, you know, and it is so successful, and it saves lives, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, men are definitely... men are becoming more in their female energy as well, you know, don't forget that. So as men are changing, so are their needs and wants and desires.
Sure. Well, I'm very lucky, hun, because my dad left when I was 13, and I was the oldest and the only son. And so I grew up with my mom and my two younger sisters from like 13 onward, you know, till I left when I was 21 or so. And that was quite an education, you know, for me. And it was, so I have a great love of and respect for, you know, and with my mom grieving the loss of my dad, both, you know, in the relationship and then him physically dying, you know, that was like a master class in women's grieving, you know, and what that really looks like, and you know, having compassion for my mom's grief and my sister's, you know, feelings of abandonment and all of those things, which I pretended to step into and try to fill, which was, of course, absurd. But, you know, I did my human best. My revelation was learning to say, I don't know. When I started to be able to say, I don't know. It was like, wow, I could say that. I don't have to pretend to know everything or have all the answers. But yeah, it's an exciting time, and I'm happy to hear all that. You know, Ireland is, you know, a few steps behind the UK in you know, some ways socially, in terms of science and education and some of these things. And of course, it's a much smaller country and a much more, you know, old-fashioned traditional country in some ways, you know, compared to 40 million people in the UK and all that. But there's a lot in common too, obviously, between the two cultures, you know. So
yeah, I love Ireland. I mean, say both my parents live in Ireland. I consider myself to be Irish heritage. You know, my nana's Irish. Just friendly people.
That counts for a lot. Yes.
Yeah. I think as we go more up north, you know, friendly, and the same as you go over that way, more friendly as well. Yeah, like Ireland.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Adele, I'm just thrilled to have this opportunity to connect with you and learn about your work and hang out and be so inspired by truly your heroic example. What a bright light you are. It's a pleasure to get to know you.
Oh, thank you. And you too. It's been a pleasure to have a chat with you. I love deep conversations like this. Not often you can have them with many people.
I quite agree. And I'm glad you took the hint. You know, we're just coming down the home stretch here. Is there anything else that we might talk about, or with your work, or anything you want to include we haven't mentioned so far?
Well, if anybody is interested, I am doing a 12-week course on all this. Everything, you know, I think we're lagging in the UK. You know, all the stuff with the science of mind, you know, new thought wisdom. You're big in America, aren't you? But in the UK, we don't seem to be as much. So I'm wanting to bring those teachings, you know, out there. So yeah, I'm doing a course. It's called Quantum Transformation. It's a 12-week course, which combines the new thought wisdom and the trauma healing. So yeah, if anybody's interested in that, let me know.
Is that online or in person, or?
It's online.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. We'll put the links for that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, brilliant. Yeah, no, I nearly fell off my chair when you said religious science. It's not a phrase I hear, outside of Los Angeles in my own experience.
Yeah,
So that's great, fantastic. Well, I will share that, and I look forward to keeping connected and learning more about your next exciting adventures.
oh, thank you, and you too. It's been a real
Thank you.
pleasure, and congratulations on the visa.
Thank you. Thank you. You brought me wonderful good luck, and uh, I hope we become good friends and keep in touch and keep sharing these cutting edge ideas, because the world is hungry and thirsty after wisdom and knowledge is my motto these days.
100%. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Adele, thanks a million. I'll let you go and have a wonderful day, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Pleasure.